What if there was a product, a natural product, that could help with fatigue, reduce inflammation, and improve physical function? What if it could help cancer treatments be more effective and lessen the harmful effects of chemo drugs? What if it could stop cancer from metastasizing and help our bodies heal themselves? What if there was a healthy hope?
All right, welcome everybody. My name is Fernando A. Mico. I'm the founder, executive director of the Nova Fest, and this is our first run on our new platform here with Filmocracy. We had a little pre-talk beforehand. This is a first where, again, brand new to this platform, but also in my experience, it's the first time we've ever done a Q&A where our guest panelists are actually on the road. So how about that technology, right?
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, well, we are recording, so we can show this later. It's a combination of for our archives later to put it out to the world, and also fodder for any marketing collateral you have out there. Some quick logistics: we are all virtual. Again, we are recording, so know that you're being recorded. If you want to come up and ask questions and answers later, again, we try to keep this a little organic, plus some kind of introduction, and let our panelists and filmmakers, artists speak or get out what they would like to share. And if you would like to, if you look at your screen at the bottom, at least on my screen, it's the bottom left corner, you'll see 3 boxes. If you have a question, please just drag yourself into one of those boxes, or I can do it for you, what have you. We have all kinds of stuff. I'm trying to make the interface not as complicated as possible. But if you have a question, just drag your picture into the box. Make sure that your microphone is definitely on. Your camera, that's up to you if you like. And then what happens, you'll be able to, you'll be unmuted basically. If you're in the audience, you're muted, so there's not too much chatter going on. So I see that Robert's here. Thank you for being here, Robert. So we're gonna open it up for Dan and Cathy. Could you please introduce yourselves and the project you're building, and anything else that you'd like to add?
Okay. Hi, my name is J McLaughlin, and I am with my wife here. She's doing the driving right now. We are in the United States. This video is doing the reverse, and I'm excited to be talking to you live at Nova, even though this is a remote situation. Of what we're doing on the we're first-time documentary people.
First-time filmmakers.
First-time filmmakers. We had a great story that came up, and we were trying to figure out how can we help them get the word out about what's happening in all this research. And we decided, as part of our and finding that research course university and then at other universities around the country. So that's kind of the
Okay, I don't know if it was on my end or your end, but whoops, were you breaking up there on your side?
No, I was just going to ask you if you had any questions.
Okay. Yeah, all the all the pressure's on you, Robert. No. Well, can you get into a little more detail about because right now you got it's all you. You're the stars. Tuesday, okay. And through the week, the lineup gets a little thicker. So this is your airtime. Maybe really say your piece out there. Yeah, share your documentary details with us, please.
Sure. So what it's about is the muscadine grape, which is it's unique to the United States. It's one of the 4 native food crops that they have, with others being like cranberries and blueberries and pom-pom fruit is another one. So those are the 4 fruits that they have that are natural or native to North America. And the muscadine grape, it's a little bit different than your regular grape that you get at the grocery store. It has a more earthy feel to it. When you bite into it, it's a thicker skin. It's got some seeds in it. They're bitter, but they grow in the South, and they have some really unbelievably strong natural fighting chemicals in them that they help to survive the weather that we have here in the Southeast. So it's really hot and it's really humid, and as the farmers tell us, that it basically grows without any kind of spraying or anything that they have to do. That you can plant, like we had friends who had muscadine grapes in their backyard, and there's nothing they had to do to maintain them. I mean, they're almost like a weed. And so as we started learning about, we went to Wake Forest University, where they were doing it was a chancellor's meeting talking about the grapes in North Carolina that they were doing a study on and their anti-cancer properties. And that's when we met Dr. Patricia Gallagher, who is just a wonderful person. She's been doing research on them for years. And she was talking about what they've been finding through their not only their tests that they do in the lab, but also with the rats, and they got on to human studies also. And
I would say her story was just so compelling that it just drew us in, and we were just amazed at the work that they had and how much they had learned. And we felt like we really needed to tell that story. And I'm sorry I can't look at the camera. I'm trying to drive.
We'll keep our eyes on the road. So we basically got to know her, and she's like, we could walk to the labs where they had at Wake Forest Baptist University, and we go down and talk to her, and she would tell us about what was going on, and that's how we got involved, and that's really how it got started.
All right. Maybe we're old folks, so we're on the Facebook, and every once in a while on the feeds, this is a little bit of an abstract, but I'll see a place on Earth or an animal that I'd never seen before, or how in my 20 plus years, maybe more. Okay, we'll have you up a second, Robert. How is it that and I've shared this with other friends of the longer tooth. How is it we've never seen these places or heard of things or seen that animal or that cave with all these wonderful things? How is it with this grape? How is it we've never heard of it more mainstream wise? Is there an answer to that?
You didn't grow up in the South.
If you grew up in the South, you'd know about it. I mean, there's a lot of people down here will say, "Oh, muscadine grape." I grew up in Massachusetts. My wife is from Montreal originally, but it's really a southeastern crop and native really to the North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. So it's been around, and there's always been these. It's kind of like the chicken soup that's good for you, and the old wives' tale that they would say in the past. This goes back, and in the film they'll talk about it. The Indians saw this as a way to help treat diabetes and help lower, control some of the glucose in there. So this is going back hundreds of years in their literature and in their stories passed down from generations. So they've started really. I mean, it was all this folklore, and one person, that was talking about it decided to ask Peg and say, "Hey, can you research this? I really just want to know what's in it. Does it actually help people or not?" And that's really kind of where she was fighting doing it. And then she's like, that's what I do. That's what our job is science, is to prove something true or not true. And she really didn't want to do it. And that talks about it in the documentary. But she was really, that's how she got drawn in too, is this one person saying, "Hey, there's all these stories about how it helps. We need to find out some more about it."
Okay. I do want to get into some of the technical filmmaking aspects, but as far as the subject matter, how is it consumed generally? Just like a regular grape? Is it squished? Is it a wine? Is it
a lot of people drink the wine. There's Duplin's one of the top wine makers in the southeast, and they make a sweet wine out of it. So like people down south, they like their iced tea sweet, they like their wine sweet. Um, so that's part of it. The other thing is a lot of people will go as family outings, like you go and pick strawberries at places, or you go and you pick apples. It's a big thing down here to take the family out, and they'll go and pick muscadine grapes, bring them back home, freeze them, and then use them for cooking or for making shakes out of them that are frozen. Take the frozen grapes, put a little grape juice in, and blend them up and have a frozen smoothie in the summertime.
I'm sorry, I at the very tail end of that I saw a little word bubble there. Again, this is brand new format, so
I'll talk a little slower. Maybe that might help.
No. Well, you are. This is about the down south, so we take our time with our sweet tea. Robert, I'll just throw this out there. If you'd like, go ahead and just if your audio is working, all you have to do is drag your icon into the bottom left corner where it says "Click here to ask a question." That's kind of like the live equivalent of getting the microphone. But again, we're kind of not necessarily haphazard, but we have a lot of flexibility since there's not a huge crowd and it's virtual and we have people on the screen. And by the way, going forward, Dan, what's going to happen is we get more people. We can have multiple, just like we are in this virtual theater. We can have multiple people up on the screen here. Okay, so all right. Yes.
You may be able to just click right in that box, and click and move your stuff over. That's what it. So Robert, I tried it earlier. If you just click here where it says click here, you don't have to drag it. You can just single click on the box itself.
Well, it could be a number of things. It could be the settings on the top, or even his own computer or whatever is not picking up sound. So there's all kinds of factors going on, or possibilities. So let's because it is fascinating, but let's we are in the film space. Oops. All right, looks like Robert's there. He's not. he's sticking and moving. Okay, well, we'll try a little bit. Let's try to get maybe the kind of the line share going here real quick. As far as more of the filmmaking aspect, you said you're first-time filmmakers. Did you have? Is that a complete virgin territory? You didn't do any corporate work. You never picked up a camera before. Is everything brand new? Did you have any experience within the production cycle at all?
Well, prior to doing this, we were both. Cathy worked as regulatory compliance at a bank in insurance, and I did IT work for a large insurance group. So
okay, a little tiny window in your world. Maybe you saw a video.
Yeah.
You picked up a camera.
So we had gone in and we'd done some camera work, for family and traveling. One of the things we love to do is we didn't have any kids. We got married later in life. We said let's travel and do some fun. So we always had a lot of work on camera work when we go out and do that, but never for this type of work. So what we've done is just kind of learned as we were going along. Originally what we did, Fernando, was we started talking to Peg, and she's like, we really want to get more Dr. Patricia Gallagher. And she said, we'd love to continue this work, but people just don't know about what's going on. We really need to raise funds if we're going to do this and take it far. And so what we did is we started talking to other people, researching other doctors that were doing the research like Dr. Gallagher was. And she gave us some names. And we started meeting with them over YouTube. And we recorded them because it was during COVID. And they would give us some information about, what they were working on. And we recorded those sessions and started putting them together. But we knew it would be so much better if we could do it in person. So it was really kind of a run and gun type of way that we were filming, because we'd go out, we'd have an hour of their time, take their pictures, do some questions, and then go back. And Cathy edited it all in Apple, and it's the Final Cut Pro version 10 she was using. I know, and that's
not a fan. That's all. I won't speak with him,
but it was what we had, and that's what we were going with. So
okay.
But it was we get to learn how to do it through YouTube. We get to meet with
Zoom
and
meetings.
YouTube, Zoom meetings, and we were doing all this work, and it worked out really well that we decided we really need to go in person. So that's when we went out and saw them at either at their offices or wherever we could meet them. So, and then we worked from there. We cleaned it up a lot. We had so much information. The really one of the big things is when they're working, you don't really realize that they all work in their own silos. All these universities researchers, pardon me, they do a lot of work on their own, and so there's not much communication. So it was nice that they started, because we were introducing some of them back and forth to each other, letting them know what we're doing, and I think that communication's really opened some doors for them to find ways to further the research.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you guys are, with every other sentence you said, there's just a Pandora's box of avenues to go in terms of a conversation. As far as, welcome to independent documentary filmmaking. There's what's really impressive there. We had a documentary last year where she was a one person crew, and at the same time the DP work was on point. She definitely had some formal skills and training prior to, but having said that, being able to get really great shots, you can only rely on the equipment for so long. You can get some, the quality can be there, but some of the fundamentals I used to teach film before is still just the blocking, the framing. I saw again, just to mention Facebook again, I saw a meme where the difference between a feature narrative film and a documentary is something as simple as the placement of the camera. If you're looking down on them, or all of a sudden the camera's like right at their belt line, it makes it makes it more cinematic, etc. So interesting. Again, just so many ways to go. Let me throw it on its side a little bit. Did you do your due diligence in seeing what other documentaries had already been produced in this world as a reference, or you just went, zero?
We really thought it was just going to be a small, production that we would use as an intro to let people know what kind of research was going on. Okay. But the more we started getting into it, it's like, wow, this really, nobody seems to know. It has a wider audience. So, and we were trying to bring the story down and not have it a technical, challenge for a lot of people. I think one of our biggest compliments was there was somebody who had worked on the research, and she's recently been married, and she said, what was great was her husband was an English teacher, and she's a biochemist, researcher and engineer, and he said, after watching the film, she's been doing this work for 5 years. I finally know what she's actually working on and what she does.
Yeah.
So that was kind of that was unsolicited, compliment, I thought, for us, that it brought it down to an understandable level. So I hope that.
And I think that was one of the real challenges, to sift through all the material and try to bring it down to a level that was understandable. And through our interviews to try to there's different people you interview have different ways of communicating, and some we just, through the questions we were asking, we were really trying to keep it and be able to tell that story in a much more simplified way, but communicate information that we thought would be interesting to other researchers that watched it, and have enough information there for those researchers, but at the same time available and accessible to an average viewer without the medical background.
One of the challenges was, and people would say, I think it's a little techie, and we'd go back and say, when we talked to people who had cancer, so one of my friends had prostate cancer. We had several, everyone knows, like we say at the very beginning, knows somebody who's had cancer, and they go out and they start researching on Google and looking at different things. So it's really kind of, sometimes you underestimate your audience's knowledge, and a lot of them knew what we were talking about. So I felt pretty good that when we asked them, was it, over your head? And these are people like in all different ages. and they would say, when we do testing with friends and relatives and people who had cancer from different cancer groups that we were showing it to, they came back and said, yeah, this is easy enough for most people to understand, and it didn't seem to be too technical. So we felt like we get somewhere in the middle, hopefully. We'll find out.
If you don't mind, because we'll just, I have different thoughts going through my mind as far as random questions or points of view. I want to jump to the business side for a second. Like two parts. What do you plan to do with what you have? In terms of like, we're going to sell, we're going to distribute it. This is just the starting conceptual piece. It's for a longer piece. And then answer in any way, like the second sort of follow-up question, did it turn out the way you initially envisioned it?
As far as business, we'd like to get it out and have people see it. There's enough information there. It's just under an hour, so I think that makes it approachable for people. We'd like to, have it go through a streaming service if that was something we could do, or, maybe we with the community that we can reach out to, we go the medical route and have some of the doctors see it in those communities. So we've got several different audiences. The doctors is, of course, a very important one to us because they're eventually going to help prove whether it's right or wrong, what's happening. So that's huge for us. But then also the people, because people are taking this stuff already and they've been taking it for years. And we've seen and heard all these stories that we don't include in it because we really go with what the doctors say. But we have end users who are saying, yeah, this really helped me. So it's, but we want to prove that that's the case, not just, hearsay. And that's what the doctors are trying to do right now.
Okay. Again, tons of questions where like, you're making me put my producer hat on for a moment as you speak, because you're first time producers. Did you have all your checks and balances, or your I's crossed and your T's dotted? As far as, did you have release forms for everybody? Did you have, all the?
That's where I'm an 80-20 person. My wife is the final 20%. She regulatory compliance. We had all of our information. We had to go back. We went back to the universities and said, they saw it, they released everything. They, made sure that this was what they, could stand by on it. And, they went back, they looked at the documentation that's been made available through National Institute of Health and Cancer. So those are all out there. That's what we're going on for our research to find out who is actually coming up with these published reports.
Okay. The catalyst for that question was that we received tons and tons of documentaries. And this year we actually accepted the most ever in our history over the last 9 years or so. So sometimes when they'll bring in experts and they're contradicting experts, but also they'll have the man on the street or people who've experienced it don't necessarily have any skin in the game, except they had skin in the game, meaning that they didn't get a grant or a financial kickback. But for whatever it is, they had a very personal, intimate experience with whatever the subject matter is. So again, they may not be a doctor or biologist, but they lived and breathed it. So you would get their opinion. They might sound kooky. They might sound smarter than the experts or the professionals. But I know that for me personally, well, you could say objectively, hearing the different opinions, whether legitimate or not, adds a more richness to the content. So suffice to say, maybe those other interviews make a call. Maybe they enrich the overall production just by throwing them in there. So it's not it's not a college lecture per se. You actually have a little more humanity to it. Again, a lot of this is random. I'm just throwing this out there from what I've seen. But on the professional side too, if you plan to take this out there, because it's one thing you throw it on YouTube, then you try to market out there, which breaks my heart with many of our films that are really, really good, because you can still monetize it, if anything, make back any of the money you invested, because it is show business. Show is the sexy part, the creative, and we captured that moment. We got something we never expected, but then the business side, it's a cold bucket of water. And actually, it's all the business terms, the coined phrase. It's ROI, and getting ready for the next project, and proving your pedigree so people want to invest in you. On and on and on and on. So shamelessly, I will push. We have our own film market that happens with the Nova Fest. That's over the weekend. I encourage people to sign up. Just spoke with someone else today. It's almost like our lineup with like doing these Q&As. Where schedules go back and forth. We will have professionals there that have been handpicked. Again, shamelessly promoting, but a lot of the professional questions as far as and they're again, cold bucket of water. They are heavy on the business side. Whether it's even in the creative end, they're heavy. They'll tell you, have camera movement, don't have lock shots. If it's on the something as simple as your IMDb date, your release date, that's vitally important to the length. Even if it's this is every once in a while you're gonna have to bite the bullet. Even if it's perfect at 63 minutes or 29 minutes, you want to sell it, they want 90. That's why. Without naming names, I don't have any, but you might watch like a regular movie. Well, that was about 20 minutes too long for however long. But you know what? It had to fulfill the requirements of being in a theater and the requirements of, Shanghai's minimum, because in general, it's 90 minutes, 82 with a wink and a nod, or 80 minutes, and then you have like 7 minutes of credits roll or something like that or more. But there are certain regulations. And even I say that, I want to step on my tongue and go, it's, with the virtual world and influencers and YouTube, Vimeo, all that stuff, it's a different world. And I'll contradict myself twice, where there's still a foundation of these certain requirements have to stay in place. I'll be a little long-winded, where when I used to teach, I'd bring this up just to actually get a response out of someone when they would bring up documentaries, and I would say, just like narrative films, it could be the greatest film ever, but to sell it in the marketplace, you need a name. A- B+ lister at best. Does it have an Angelina Jolie? Does it have a Matt Damon? You name it. And I would say that you need that in a documentary as well. Then somebody inevitably usually throws up their hands. Well, it's a documentary. It doesn't need a star. I say, okay, take your documentary or a good documentary, whatever. And now I want you to replace the narrator with Morgan Freeman. Tell me if it's a more sellable product at that point. So, and it doesn't have to be necessarily that's an easy one, but in your world, what if you added interviews with the WHO director, or make it controversial, get Dr. Fauci to say something, so you get all sides arguing. Now we get into the business world, where the content almost doesn't matter. Now it's just a matter, if your goal, and there's some bullet biting there, is to have some kind of fodder or traction for people to get interested. Now it's marketable. Now you're talking the language of distributors and sales agents, because now the buyers have something that they can sell. They know how to sell it. Again, I'm a little bit all over the place there, but I guess part of our undercurrent is to educate, meaning there are certain fundamentals in the business, and then sometimes the goalposts are all over the place. So so that between that and we want everybody to be successful, we really do, truly do. So that means understanding. I want nasty isn't the best word. I'll go back to the cold bucket of water of just understanding the basic logistics. Because if you're just doing something for not necessarily fun, but it's a passion project, and you could care less about money, this or that, God bless you. Go for it. Just don't ever utter one syllable of complaint about how you wasted the money or this or credit cards. But the big thing we always push, that again, 98. I'll steal from Dr. Seuss. 98.75% of the first-time filmmakers for sure don't get is that just because your film is in the can, that's about 50% of the journey. You got a whole other way to go. And I talked way too much because this is not my panel; it's your panel. So where are you right now? Are we the first festival that you're out there? You've been to 2 or 3. You got 20 down the line, 20 behind you. Where are you right now?
This is our first online film festival, so this is unique for us. We're excited about it. We are looking at probably getting into some other ones throughout the course of this year, which would be great. We talked about that earlier, and I think that was really good information for us. We are, we've had people approach us already who've seen it and said, "Hey, can you make this a series?" Because that way it could be broken up and produced over the course of 5 or 6 different ones, and have other people come in and get to know more in depth what's going on. So that's been something that we're considering. We do have a lot that was one of the hardest things we had to do, was to cut, because you think of it, we had 6 doctors and probably 20 hours of conversations with them, what was going on, and other things that we purposefully left out, because I know the doctors were worried that they might look like they were promoting a particular product. And so we kept a lot of the stories out that were about products, that they were using, or stories of individuals that, just said, "Hey, this happened and I was able to do this." I know it sounds great, but if you can't verify it, that's where we kind of stop that part from going into the film. But that's something that we can take a look at too, if you have the man on the street type of thing. Why are people all saying that this stuff is great for you? Well, have a few people represented in the film, I guess, if we could modify it that way too. So
I think one of the things that struck me about what you said is how much work we did because we would get feedback on the documentary, and people would say, "You got to cut," and we'd go back and we'd fight about what we would cut, and we'd show it again, and they'd say, "No, you've got to cut more." And had I known I didn't have to do all that cutting,
we actually started about an hour and 30 minutes, about an hour and 25 minutes, I think we were at. So,
which was too long. The story, the story was not
as tight as it is now. So, but I mean, it also means that maybe we could go out and add to it and get some more stuff to fill it out some too.
I just can hear veteran filmmakers' voices in the back of my mind, and maybe I have a small chirp, just commenting on what you shared, going or thinking. You two are adorable. That's just so cute. It's so much as that's meaning that's something everybody's encountered for years and years, and if they've been around that long. Those are all decisions that, I mean, it is an art form. So that initially you wanted this to be, I'll just throw this out randomly. You wanted it to be a 30-minute production. But then you had so much information that now it evolves, and you go, "Wow, this could be a full-length doc," and then it evolves further. We had a suggestion where this could be a series. Now all of a sudden there's a weird transformation from like 30 minutes to now it's got to be an hour and a half to now it can be 6 30-minute things, so or segments, and those are vastly different on all counts: the creative process, the production, the editing side, and also on the business side. Who are your end users? Are they going to be medical facilities, health groups, libraries? They're being brand new. It's hard, and they're ever-changing goals. It's hard to figure out or stick to a marketing plan. Sometimes you got to stick by your guns, but in this world, okay. Which again, I'm new. I'm seeing a little word bubble down there. I didn't know that was an option. It's a little distracting. I'm gonna have to crush that. Or are you seeing the same word bubbles?
Thanks,
okay,
Robert.
thanks, Rob. We'll talk. Hopefully you straighten it out, Rob. Everything you're dealing with, it's kind of it doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. There's usually some form of mystery or pivot that you got to take. Hopefully less and less the more veteran you become. When it becomes a hard business, or we're going to make a horror movie or an action movie, so this is where the fight scene is, this is where the car chase, this is where the beautiful girl gets stabbed or stabs the guy or the monster or whatever. You I know on my sets, it's been a long time since I produced, but keep the drama on the screen, but not in the actual shoot. Just in the doc world. Okay, this is what we want to get. Maybe we get room for discovery in the interview, but this is the location. Here's the equipment we need. Okay, boom, boom. Here's the extra question. Here are the questions, and we got extra work. Fine, whatever. Okay, we got to strike the set because we have to be out here by 7 p.m. or 5 a.m. or something. Where the light is off for this or whatever. Our DP has another shooter. You've got another interview in an hour across campus, or So these are again. I'm rambling a bit, but understand. Again, I'm just sharing nuggets that hopefully can help you down the line. Nothing you're doing hasn't been encountered before. Platforms changed. Evidence where we are now, but so many of the fundamentals remain. If you can capture in my opinion, from again over the last, it's been more than 10 years I've been doing this, but as far as festivals and all the, the vast amount of quantity that we have to digest, if just like a narrative, if you can capture the humanity in there, for me, I'll just say that's just for Fernando. If you can capture the humanity, even if it's a documentary about a subject a brand new person could care less about, or it could be an Avengers movie. I'm a nerd, so it's not about the powers, and it's about regular people in an extraordinary situation. So maybe it's a hard translation, but I don't know, maybe not. As far as again, I'm trying not to be super ego, what have you here, but all the documentaries, I'm obviously I see things that could care less, but there's something that captures the imagination or your attention just because it's well produced. We have tons of music documentaries. It may be not my my genre or my style. Literally we have underground grunge bands touring through deep parts of Eastern Europe. I could care less, but they start talking about their families and their dreams and then America. Like, oh, okay, then we're in. So if you can do that with what you do, then more power to you. Again, I'm a bit ranting a little bit, but again, the undercurrent, one of the or pillar or whatever metaphor is we would like you to be successful, however that's defined, and by doing that, we'll sort of friendly nudge because we can see there's a cliche, we're all family. I'm not going to go that far, but we are definitely trying to creating a community. So it's not just, what can NovaFest do for us, but what can you do for, and where I'm going. The point is sharing knowledge of the options that are out there so you can follow whatever your vision, your dream is. Again, if you just want to keep it tight and just put on YouTube or, God bless you, you want to get out there and make some money off of it, which is perfectly awesome and more people should do. Know the corners and the quadrants. This business is not difficult, but it's a lot. I'm sorry. No. I'm going to take that off the recording. It's a massive amount of. It's not complicated. I'll follow that up with. It's just the quantity can be so vast, and the answer to that is that hustle gets rewarded. Otherwise, you're just. It's going to be a standard that I've heard in other quadrants, but I definitely promote or I've adopted, where every production you put out there, whether it's your documentary, health, medical concern, or I don't know, dark comedy, your work is matched up against Spider-Man and the Avengers. That's how you have to look at it. What is going to put you on that level? Again, maybe I'm putting myself out there a little bit too far, but at the same time, again, this is the thrill I get talking to filmmakers, and I want a level of excellence, and again, virtual cycle. Your success makes the NovaFest brand and caliber increase. Poor English, but at the same time, we want to work with each other, so it brings you up and it brings us up at the same time. We love celebrating people who achieve within our community.
So I have a question for you.
Please. Oh, it's going the other way.
We have we had a guy who over a dozen TV stations saw it, watched the movie, called us somebody, knew somebody, and he said, "Can I watch it?" And he said, "I'd like to send you a contract for showing it." Is that unusual? Is that something we strike at right away, or what?
Fantastic.
I mean,
Because you were breaking up quite a bit, if I heard you correctly, my gut initial advice would be talk to the people who know where this is what they do, which would be shamelessly, and I can connect you to them outside of it. But the people at the film market, these are questions you ask them, because honestly and candidly, again, there are fundamentals that will universally remain, but so many things keep shifting, especially with technology. And then, my gosh, throw in the whole pandemic and the world shifting moments. They do affect steps going forward and how to be successful. You know, I mean, there's so many factors where even just the cultural changes could be a factor in the overall equations. Maybe, I remember back in the 90s, rom-coms dominated. They just were the thing to produce or put out there. Then maybe in the 2000s, the what do they call it? The horror horror. The saws. I was never into that genre, so that's why I don't even know. But those were that was the hot ticket item at the time. So, but again, this is just kind of the cool world where it's not a 9 to 5, or where as a filmmaker, whether it's documentarian or a straight up narrative producer, do you go with the trend, or do you produce something that your DNA is invested in? So, I mean, that's the fun. That's the fun. So the short answer to the question is, I would talk to a pro who does this every day, or who is in the trenches and they have their finger to the wind. They know where the markets are, what they want. I mean, now we get into the fingernail dirty part of, like, this is what they're gonna, this is what to expect monetarily, and the big fun comes, just like everything we're doing right now. In 3 months, let alone 3 weeks from now, maybe it all changes for whatever reason. So, the Academy Awards were just a week or two ago, and not going to address the big gorilla in the room of that, but you wonder why they do the ugly face and they're sobbing and they're crying. It's because they're not supposed to be there. It's so impossible to get to that point, to produce something, to show up there, because you had the pros and they do their work, and you never. Pixar is the only production company that seems to nail it out of the park all but 100% of the time. Every time else, Brad Pitt, Clooney, who are the newer stars? You don't know. It could be directed by Tarantino, or I'm trying to be inclusive and think of it. It's just not at the top of my head. Those are just the quick mainstream ones in my mind. So apologies, but you just never know what's going to be a hit, what's going to be a flop, for the most part. And let alone, you've got these poor actors who started with your dreams as children, and they've heard no for decades, and they get this one little part, and then now they're a working actor. Oh, they're famous and making a lot of money. Oh, they got in this great movie. Oh, we got nominated to get to that point is so extremely difficult. And I have no idea where I started with this conversation to get to that point. But let me ask what your gut is right now, with what you're doing. Do you think are you entertaining a series, or are you just steel nosed and, like, we produce what we produce? Now it's just sharpening the edges.
I don't want to. There's enough information that's still going on and being collected. Mm-hmm. We could add a second phase to it, and it's still interesting to us because it is. I mean, they're doing amazing things, and even as their everyday stuff that they've got, they've got these high-powered microscopes that you can see the cancer cells dividing and moving. And,
wow!
And it's almost like otherworldly, but there's more of that.
Anti-cancer properties of the grapes.
Yeah, the anti-cancer properties of the grapes. We can watch that as it's attacking other cells, and we didn't do a lot of that, but it's something that would be, I think, the visuals there really just bring it home to show it's like a little mini war going on inside the body. And I know Peg talks about it, like Dr. Patricia Gallagher, where she said, when you go to war, you bring everything you got, and this would be just one of those additional weapons that you would bring in your fight against cancer. I think that's really what, and the other thing is, you feel like we're helping maybe get something out there for everyone that could benefit from it. Everyone's been, we just, we've all lost friends or had, heartaches because of cancer. And it's just cancer is like a 4-letter word, and you just don't want to see people die from it. And if there's something out there that maybe, one of the researchers said, well, it was really disappointing. We only had 25% of the people who were getting benefits from this that they saw in one of their research. And I said, yeah, but what if you're one of the 25% of the people? That's great. It's unfortunate for the other 75, but if that helps 25% of the people in what you're seeing, then that's something to cheer about. And that's, she said it was like an 8 months, longer. And I said, that's, for announcement of a new baby, that's a wedding that you might get to go to that you wouldn't have the chance.
Wow. See, you're totally hitting what I just mentioned earlier. At least that's what excites Fernando as far as the humanity of it. Now it's not this miracle grape that's in the South. Look at the, it has its origins in Greece, or, with, the more academia intellectuals. And now you're talking about real people, and that's where people are going to, in my opinion, will invest. That's great. That's great.
So that's kind of what drives us. That was driving it on us. For we saw one of the things when we first went, and I said the Dean's Forum when they had the first meeting that we went to about grapes. And we do stuff, wineries. We do help them run a wine competition, and we do a lot of different things. But this muscadine grape, when we went, it was unique for us. It's something that we weren't really familiar with. But there was these students, and they were all graduate students, and they were about 10 different ones who had run projects, and they were showing their projects. They had whiteboards there and different things. So they were all enthusiastic about what they had seen in their own individual research as part of the overall research that was going on at Wake Forest University.
And that was where the information that we learned that night was just so compelling that's why we really wanted to.
And to this day, how her mother had breast cancer, and that was one of the reasons why she was studying this, was to find out, is there a way another child doesn't have to go through that. So it's really, one of the things that we've seen is Robin Roberts, where she went through triple negative breast cancer, and it was very in the public. It's a terrible form of breast cancer that there's really not a lot known on how to fight it. Well, if they watch the documentary, you'll see there's something in there with the grape that actually helps those people, that they wouldn't have to just use heavy doses of chemotherapy. So that's what really is pushing us to get this out in front of people. So
have you because I'm doing my best to keep it, keep out any TMI, on my end. Have you received any kind of pushback from the evil corporate giant pharmaceuticals, anything like that?
I don't know that they've seen it yet.
I don't think it's going to bother them. They got enough money. I think, tamoxifen is something that's given to breast cancer patients, and that comes from a natural product. They've tweaked it a little bit, so it's nothing. They've got their own part of their big pharma had it, but it's something that's accepted. It comes from. There's another one that comes from the yew tree, that actually helps in breast and cancer fighting. That's tamoxifen. Let me say this one more time.
A lot of else.
So Fernando, will you be editing this?
So
no.
Anyway.
Unless I sound stupid because it's mine, but not that you'll sound stupid. But
so anyway, it's one of those things that it's already been known. They have some natural products that do things like this. So we're hoping, everyone wins on this. If they can get this stuff in and see what it's doing, and even improve it to a better point, you know, what's wrong with that? Even if you can just take the product on its own and it's not doing any harm and it's helping several people, you know, a certain percentage, you know. And
Well, I'll just throw this out there and my overactive imagination. If it is gangbusters and it's something huge, you know, there's going to be something, you know. But you can just look at. Oop, am I frozen on your end?
Okay, you're good. I can hear you.
Okay. Again, I'm just overactive imagination. You know, oh, we developed the electric car that runs off pond scum or pond water. You know, revolutionary. You know, there's going to be some other corporations I'm real thrilled about that. I don't know. Again, just I'm shooting in the wind, but yeah. Well, always better to plan for success, right? Than let some of the spaces fill in. A thought in the back of my mind that pops in as you talk too. Again, finding your community, finding your audience. There's a lot of hustle and thinking outside of the box. This is not making the best hamburger, then going to McDonald's and, you know, buy my idea. Where I've just seen so many examples of. I saw this documentary where they covered. There's this event, Olympics for the elderly. Yeah, the way I said that almost sounds like some kind of torture, but they found their market by going to the assisted living homes. You know, they're not going to sell it. You know, that goes contrary to what I mentioned about you know, matching up against Spider-Man in the big movie theaters, but they went straight to the huge community of assisted living, and that's where they not only made their film there, but they even made a film about how they made their film, and they made millions off of that. I'm getting a little big on millions. Maybe they did. But again, just as you mentioned that, you could have an incredible community of within the, because I have friends who produce wine or have you know, are in the adult beverage industry. You could totally have an audience there to not only, again, you have to think out of the box. Not only, you know, sell your film to or get them in, you know, get them to sponsor it, get their name attached, get a couple interviews, and then all of a sudden this whole virtual cycle of social media, you know, hey, we're in this video, check it out, and you know, who knows where to lead. I have a bit of a plan, don't get me wrong, but keep your mind open.
They are doing that with us right now. I mean, they've seen what we did is we took it out and showed it to the Muscadine Grape Growers Association in a couple of different places, and they were like, we will, you know, they will post it out on their web pages and let their people know, because obviously for them it's a benefit. They you know,
sure,
they loved it. They were like this. They thought it was the best anything they had seen on Muscadine and research, and made it very simple for them to understand. So I imagine they'll be sending, if we do something at some point with them or have a streaming, they have hundreds of thousands of followers when you add them up in the whole South area. Think of like I don't know, California with wine and how many people are out in that area. The Southeast U.S. where they have this Muscadine wine that people love, they would be able to get that out to all their followers with information of where to watch the movie. And they want them, I mean, because obviously for them, it just proves their point that they said not only is the wine good, it has some benefits that they think that would be coming through that grape that gets produced. So that's been very positive, because I mean, they have literally like hundreds of thousands of followers when you add up each of the different groups, so each of the different wineries.
I still think you could swing further. You know, hundreds, that's great. I'm thinking millions, man. I'm thinking, again, we are an international organization, whatever that means. Again, this is a new space. Network, meet some people. We definitely have international people. It's just, I don't know. This is where you can talk to the agents and get more of a concise strategy going. But again, just because of the nature of the industry, just meet somebody in a hallway conference. You just never know. It happens. It's tough because it happens all the time, but it's not necessarily something you can plan. I don't know. I'm just thinking, you know, I don't know. I like to think big. I look at, you know, I have an artist background. I think of it like a sculptor, this big giant block of marble, and then just start chipping away. And I like going big and then focusing into small, so not playing small ball. Think of it as the world. Where else on the planet, that may find this of interest or would want to get some skin in the game? France, obviously Italy.
Growing, and they're ones that are big on natural products. Just their whole history too is a lot of natural foods and natural products, and they've been very quick to follow all the research, and they're planting thousands of acres of muscadine grapes in China, looking at extracting benefits from it. They're doing it right now. So, and South America, Chile's got some right now, but
there you go.
That's more based on United States market and more available grapes. That's why you'll see a lot of grapes are made and are grown in South America to have multiple seasons. And so they're always in the grocery store, and that's what they're looking to do with muscadine.
And again, where it becomes dangerous is, my mind's starting to float and think, well, what if you go to Whole Foods, and talk to those guys? And, these are our products. This helps your brands right along, find out who's parallel or in line with your brand. And who knows, now Whole Foods is sponsoring the new series that comes out every April. Have a plan. Don't get me wrong, but that's again one cool thing about the business. Depending on what you're producing, it sounds like cliche, but yeah, sky's the limit. Have fun. So I'm presuming you guys still at the beginning. You're learning, and there's still a fire and a passion.
There is.
So it'll be interesting if we can hopefully keep in contact in a year, 5 years down the line. If you're like, yeah, it's a stupid grape, it tastes nice, whatever. we don't drink alcohol anymore. I don't know.
I don't think that'll be the case, but we do. And what you've done too with this is we were really impressed with your whole campus of when you come online. And really, did you do that, or did you get a group? Because it's really pretty cool.
Very impressive.
We're very
impressed.
Well,
what do you mean when you say do? For better or worse? I'm sorry.
You designed it. Your input was all there, I guess.
I'd say anywhere from 40 to 70%, depending on what exactly. Here's the blessing and curse, because my origins are from the beginning. I'm an artist, and then I just branched off everywhere since they're like a traditional artist. So graphic design, I worked for Marvel Comics. That's one of my big hooks. So I've got that world. I did posters for films, and then without even knowing, I wanted to get into directing, even acting, whatever. Point being, for the first time ever, I did hire a graphic artist designer with direction to make all the buildings and so on and so forth. But then I couldn't help it. I tinkered a little bit with it afterwards. But yeah, it's fun. It's Fernando land per se.
Well, I really like it. I figured out Fernando FAM and then the E
Enterprises.
Very cool.
Yeah. Little wink and a nod. It literally just a few days ago, it just dawned on me I should make an email address of mine, Fernando at Mico Enterprises. Because that's Fernando A. So that's again little thrill, means nothing, and I'm having fun. So screw you if you're going like, oh, I'm being extra. I don't care. I'm gonna be extra. So, but no, that it's the thing with the map, because now, for better or worse, we are in our third season. Again, this is not about us, but you asked. Once people, either you get it right away, people eventually get it, but there's like this corner you turn. Once you can put your mind into the virtual space, it's like walking on a campus or a village like you do here at the Mosaic in Fairfax, if you've ever been. There's a bunch of shops and stores, a bunch of buildings, because we take over the area where we'll have pre-screening receptions before the movies screen. We'll go to a cosmetic shop or a dress shop, and they'll turn it into like a nice wine and hors d'oeuvre type situation, and then they'll watch the movie, and then we'll have an after party at a bar somewhere after. So in that vein, we just created a virtual village. And with all the different things we're doing, shameless again promoting, we have 10 festivals in November across the country. Each one of those gets their own theater, just like Nova gets its own theater, the Film Market, and we'll see again. Again, I'm trying not to make this about us, but we have one theater that's strictly video on demand, but keeping with the current trends, we just made everything video on demand. And then even for my little favorite thing, there's the arts hall or the awards hall. That's where you click on that, and then you'll be able to watch the awards ceremony this Sunday. You can get your passes now. Throw it out there, but yeah. Well, thank you for that. It's fun. Again, as an artist, I'm a nerd. I get, it's a visual 3D space. You click on it. But my point of that whole diatribe is that once people turn the corner and they get it, because I've literally had to go to we'll have in the Fame Forum is right now where we are. This is where we have our Q&A. Somebody might be in a different building, and I'll literally have to click out of this building like I'm leaving this. I'm leaving a real space, and I'll go into another building across the street and say, "Hey, you need to come over here." But obviously, it's just clicking, not a whole lot of exercise. But and again, with this whole new space, we together. This is the first time we're using this platform. It's got a lot of extra nuances. Where it was kind of cool before, it was similar-ish, but now we can have unlimited, great deal number of people on the panels and people in the audience. They're giving us the ability to do all kinds of stuff. We have breakout rooms. If you look at the list, there are 2 breakout rooms. That's gonna be a little harder sell. Not hard in that there's a lot with the virtual village and all that, but literally just like a regular film festival, you can meet up with somebody in the hallway and then go to a room and just have a private chat between the two of you. You're a beautiful actress. You'd be perfect in this new movie. Or I saw that movie you directed. You'd be awesome. I have a movie idea. What's your schedule, your rate, whatever, everything under the sun. You can have those meetings privately, or you could have a big party. There could be 5-10 people. Again, brand new. So I believe you can open it up. So you can have conversations with whoever's in the room, or again, you can have private. If one of the lounges, even, we have people who paid to have their trailers played before the films. Their trailers are playing in a sports bar. You can see them on the different video screens like you would in a real life sports bar. So there's all kinds of fun stuff going on. I'm still trying to figure out the popcorn. You can just share the popcorn. I'll maybe try one now. I'm gonna grab one and I don't know, put it on top of you. I don't know what happened, but I know you can move them around. Beyond that, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
anyway, I really liked it. I thought it was I really like the setup. I think it looks pretty cool. So,
thank you.
We're
trying to stay out of the curve or at the forefront. This is now 3 seasons removed, but I did my best due diligence. We looked around at other festivals, and a lot of times they were just okay, that's interesting. Another pop-up window. If you see that, basically a lot of them were just, it looked like Zoom calls, and we can do better. For the Nova brand, we really do our best to if you've ever been to the Mosaic, the Angelica there, it was kind of cart in front of the horse. I saw this as a filmmaker at the time and going, this is where my blood, sweat, and tears deserves to be presented. A nice facility, brand new, state of the art, and really show off your stuff. And again, it's something that was deserved. Anyway, you're making it. I'm trying not to. This is about your time. I know I've already taken up too much time talking about us and me in general, but take advantage of it. Right now, you've got center stage. It looks like right now, as far as our lineup, it's slowly ramping up to more and more people. So you will. I'll post this in some version online again, brand new. But what we've done in the past is we'll just throw it out there, unedited, uncut. So you can point people to it as far as the URL on YouTube. And if you want, I'll even I'll go on a limb. I'll send you the ideas. We'll send you a video file too, so you can chop it up or include it in any of your marketing collateral. So
okay. Sounds great.
And we're about an hour and 10 into it, even though it's a 2-hour slot. We don't have to go 2 hours. But there's still stuff you want to put out there. Obviously, use up every moment of it. We could go out into the audience and ask for any input or questions, but it appears we have a bare crowd.
That's what I think. When we if we do this tomorrow night or something like that, I can jump in for a little bit and come and go like you're talking about. And that's fine with me if you want to do it, or other nights that look light on the maybe on Wednesday.
Well,
or
here's the deal. It's again, this is one of those moments where it parallels the live world. There's a classic Saturday Night Live skit they did a bunch of years ago. It's a film festival, and the film finishes, and then there's about, I don't know, less than a dozen people in the crowd, and then the moderator comes out and says, if there are any representatives of the film, please come down on stage and do quick. And then all but one person leaves the audience, and they're down there, and then then the poor person, they're just want to watch the movie, and they're just pummeling the person. Anyway, the point is, the ideal is to be in a sold out theater with as few filmmakers as possible, so you're actually getting real feedback. A lot of times what ends up happening, for better, or at least one makeup, is there's just a lot of filmmakers who are there because their film's in the festival, and so you take it for what it is, but you'll get a lot of Q&A from other filmmakers, not the man on the street per se, the mainstream viewer. So all that to say is, you're please more than welcome. We could use more people in the audience, even if you don't want to be on the panel. Watch some of the films, look at who's going to be on there, catch their film real quick, and you can enjoy the entire experience. You don't have to be Mr. or Mrs. Professional throughout. You can just go watch a movie like, hey, I actually like that. Oh, cool. On Thursday or Tuesday or whatever, the filmmaker is going to be there. And again, that's the magical experience where we can do our best to duplicate but never catch. You watch a Star Wars movie. Again, I'm a nerd, so those are the movies I'll pick. But then all of a sudden, you just watched it. You can go and talk to the actor, the filmmaker, right after watching it. That's kind of the cool film festival experience. You don't get that anywhere else. All that hype is saying is a Zoom call.
We looked at the people who are going to be presenting, and those are our ones that we're prioritizing to see this week, so that we can talk to them when we go on. So we'll be getting up early and watching a couple of movies, and then especially the ones who are going to be back in the chat room here to talk about what they're presenting, and if we have questions, we'll be able to ask them directly. So I thought that was one that we looked at right away. This is a great opportunity for us to learn more.
Do it as fun, and on the coattails of what you just said, be totally agenda based. Ask those questions. How did you get that shot? What camera did you use? What's that location? Are you busy next Thursday or next, over the summer? We have this idea. You want to talk, after the screening, after the Q&A, you want to duck off to one of the breakout rooms and have a conversation. Again, like the real world. That's what would happen. That's what happens at every, the Nova Fest proper when we're live. Bunch of restaurants or little corners, cafes, what have you, and you have those kind of I don't know. I get a little excited about it because no business like show business. You have those conversations that could lead absolutely nowhere after 5 hours of talking, or it could go somewhere magical. It's a plume on your like a life achievement. It's kind of fun. So again, I like the sound of my own voice, and I just keep talking. But again, somewhere you will catch it.
I know what you mean on it, because it is pretty magical. Because a lot of this was, we were going to do this, we didn't know how many people would see it, and then when we started showing people, they're like, man, you got to put this out there, for others to see, and that's kind of where where it's taken us already. Has been a pretty phenomenal ride, and it doesn't seem to be stopping yet. So as we keep on hearing more.
2 points is, again, you're on a really cool space right now. In my opinion, that we produce. This is something better than check out my Vimeo link or my this is an actual official place where, again, hopefully, like you mentioned, the technology is just kind of cool. It's in a cool space. You're getting validation, if not legitimacy, being accepted into an accredited festival. I don't want to break my arm patting ourselves on the back. but shamelessly push it out there. They make them invest, make them buy a pass, and then they could. Then again, there's a virtual cycle. We're going VOD this year, so you get in for the day, or you get a VIP pass. You get to catch all these films that you won't see on Netflix, mainstream, anywhere else, or you see them before they get out there. And stuff like, and productions like yours that, you're in the shadows per se. And that's, one of our jobs again is to get you out of the shadows. So yeah, shamelessly, get them to buy a pass because, get them to invest, and then they come back and visit us again. Then you create, more productions, and you come back, submit, and hopefully get in, and hopefully, win awards and what have you. And then it works together because we are very merit based. Yeah, you got in because you got in because you were good. You won because you won. Or the inside joke is depending on how fat the check is you mailed to me. But that aside, we do our best to keep the integrity. So again, natural cycle. We want it so you put the NovaFest Laurel brand on your productions or whatever your collateral is. That ups your value. We bring in great films, so that ups the value of who we are. So it's again a virtual cycle in the art film world. So, and isn't that a good thing, right? So
it's awesome.
And you're on your case, and you're specifically with you all. Or I'm sorry, because you're dealing with this with y'all. You can maybe actually help some people in the real world. I can't, and this is me being long-winded again, but darn it, we're storytellers. I can't help but think of when you said the 25% of the people that can be helped. I believe it's, I'll butcher this slightly, but there's the story of I think it's called The Spanish Dancer or something like that. The boy, you know what I'm talking about? Where I've seen different versions, convoluted versions, but the one I believe the original is a man was on the side of a shore, ocean side, looked over the cliff, and he saw a young man who was just doing kind of a weird dance on the beach way far away. So it piqued his curiosity, went down to the beach, and it turned out as he got closer to the boy, he saw that across the beach was spewed out just literally thousands of starfish that had been stranded on the beach, and they were all dying. And the boy was grabbing each one by one and hurling them back into the water to save their lives. So, okay, it's kind of fascinating, whatever. But he walks up to the boy and says, asked him what he was doing. The boy shared it, and he said, well, there are literally thousands of starfish all spewed across the beach here. How can you ever hope to make a difference in their lives? And he's like, to that point, he grabbed one starfish, hurled it back in the ocean, and basically said, I made all the difference in the world of that life. So if what you're doing, it adds to that. How special is that? You're doing filmmaking. I'm going to presume you guys aren't in your teens anymore. So, this later chapter in your life, you're doing something kind of cool, kind of neat.
Yeah.
So
one thing, I'll tell you one story that was really kind of really crazy was it was one of the guys was telling us how it helps people with macular degenerative eye problems, that the muscadine grape in the wine, if you take it in certain amounts and strengths, then it will help reverse that. And he was telling us about a lady who had this issue. So, again, we didn't use that because it wasn't, there wasn't a lot of a lot of documentation to back it up. However, about 3 months later, after he told us that, we were at another winery that had nothing to do with muscadine, and I was leaving, and I had a half a bottle of wine left in the bottle as I was walking out, and this lady said, oh, look at you, you're a quitter. And I'm like, hey, I'm Irish, don't challenge me. So I opened it up. I sat down at the table with the friends they had her friends there, and we started talking. And she's like, well, have you ever had muscadine wine? And I said, yeah. And she goes, well, what's really weird? She goes, I have a friend who was getting shots for macular degenerative into her eye, and the doctor couldn't believe it that she was taking this muscadine wine, and it reversed it over the summer type of thing, this several months, and she was going back, and it was getting better and better, and the doctor couldn't figure out what's happening because it's usually only a one-way direction. And so we had that story verified by just somebody sitting down, kind of casually giving me a hard time about walking out with half a bottle of wine. And we ended up finishing the wine and talking about it. And she's like, validated this guy's story, and it was hundreds of miles away from where he told us.
Where we were sitting.
Where we were just, it was just.
But that's not in the film.
Yeah, that's something we didn't bring into the film, but there were several things like that were pretty amazing that just kind of drove us even more to saying, there's something here. There's something behind this that's interesting. So.
And ironically, afterwards, you left with more blurred vision, I presume.
Well, it was a long conversation that we had, because she really went into it and was telling it, because I kept on saying, tell me more. But yeah, it was definitely a good day.
You're in the world of art, so maybe that is what prompts part two in this series. You just keep your options open, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that's I don't know. What do you think? Does that get stir the pot a little bit?
It was, I think it's gonna, maybe it stimulates some researchers to go in a little bit more and really kind of say, hey, we have all these people saying these things. There's got to be something going on in the mix.
I can't help but think, though. I mean, did you really look to see if there are other documentaries that cover this specifically?
Not in this case for muscadine. There's nothing that
really after all these years.
Yeah, it's been an old wives' tale, they'd say, or Indian tale for years. I mean, a lot of people in the South, it's kind of like the chicken soup thing. You'd hear people say, "Oh, take chicken soup."
Sure.
And
we're in Virginia, so
Yeah, and Virginia has it too. Actually, by you, have you ever been to Delaplane Vineyards?
No.
It's up by it's a really nice vineyard up by you in Northern Virginia. If you Delaplane, I'll shout that one out. They've been really they're really good wines. But anyway, there's all these stories that are going on, so we're hopefully going to try to corroborate them with science. Make sure that they're
it strikes me a little strange. That's all. We had about 4 years ago ish. We had a group of Canadian kids. They're in their 20s. That's why I call them kids. They just jumped ship and they went to India to study the community around this river that the legend has it, if you die there, you go straight to heaven. You go right. You bypass all the reincarnation. But if you die by that river, boom, you're in. I never heard of any before, and they really got the aesthetics that are eating the ashes, and then the whole thing of a hospital. People don't go there and die; they're there for 20 years, and then the children who come and take care. So there's this whole, there's a good fodder there for rich information and entertainment. But having never seen it, was like I forgot how, but I found out that there were another 3 or 4 documentaries that did the same thing. So point being, it was very unique, very not mainstream. But there was stuff out there. So, I personally was curious to know if you'd encountered rival documentaries out there or something similar. Because you'd think if this is so kind of cool, that some of the people might have explored it, even on a more of the academia side, just some kind of programmer, I don't know, coursework that you find in a medical university. Again, circles. So that's interesting. Do you have I think I don't want to keep going over this and over just to state it, because maybe I've lost track. What is your hardcore plan right now?
We're going to make it through the summer with a couple of these other film festivals to go through. Mm-hmm. And we're going to take some of the advice that you've given us, and we're going to go to the market and
capital markets,
markets to see what's going on with them and talk to people. And we're still going to try to work with some of the people who know, the industry people who know about what's going on with the muscadine, and talk to them about how can you help us get this in front of people, because it's one of those things that's not just beneficial for them, those growers of grapes, but also for people who are, struggling with cancer. So, it's a win-win for them. If more people know about the grape, more people will want to eat it, and it'll be one of those, it's kind of like when you heard about pomegranates or you heard about blueberries and how they're good for you. People are just going to want to have more of them. So for them, it's I hate to say marketing.
No, don't ever.
You know what I mean?
No.
It's science. It's gonna, if their marketing can fund the science to get this done. Again, everyone's a winner on that.
Exhaustively, ad nauseum, whatever the phrase is. I put this out all the time. We're not in the filmmaking business. We're in the marketing business. That was shared to me many years ago by Dov. I wouldn't even mention him. He's the godfather of filmmaking. Whatever. The point is, and this is where I got nailed. I thought, and again, not about me, but just to give some color to the story. As extraordinary as your production is, whether it's your documentary that solves cancer for 110%, people on Mars get cured from cancer just by reading the article, or again, it has all the superstars in your film and social justice, and it pivots and changes the mindset of everybody, and no matter how wonderful it is, at the end of the day, that Brad Pitt film that was extraordinary is sitting on the shelf at your grocery store right next to your Starkist can of tuna. So this is the comment that I get punched in the teeth about all the time is, it's not about the tuna, it's about the Charlie, or something along those lines. So it's all about marketing and getting it out there, and swinging it back home. We've already mentioned there are 2 giant communities, if not 3, out there that for you to explore. And again, in the distribution business world, you just have to learn to speak their language. How does it benefit them? Because depending on the circles, I'm not trying not to be mean, but like if you go to the wine community, you're not going to say, oh, people are going to be cured of cancer, and then that's obviously a great thing. But if they're thinking straight up business, that they could give 2 flying whatevers, because that doesn't affect their bottom line. It doesn't get more customers. Their long view, but if you go and say, well, this could be the next big trend, if you want to be at the forefront, again, now you get into the salesperson thing. This is going to give you more customers. It shows you're benefiting the community. You're conscious. You're blah blah blah. You're trendy. If that's that's where your research comes in. Is this the company that will benefit the most from what I'm producing? Am I speaking their language? So anyway, I'm reminded of an old Abbott and Costello stand-up where Costello asked Abbott, what makes a hot air balloon go up? He goes, well, hot air. It's like, what's keeping you down? So, but hey, you know what? This is a panel. We're just trying to have fun. We're not changing the world, even though it might with what you're doing. So, have fun. People have forgotten to have fun, in my opinion.
And that's kind of why we started all this was, we were working, both of us, like I said, worked in the insurance world and banking world. And it's like, if we're going to work 16 hours a day or 12 to 16 hours a day, it's like, let's go ahead and work for ourselves and do something that, we have a passion for. And this is really what's pushed us into researching and helping find out ways to keep this research going.
Tell the story.
And I'm
there
Irish.
it is.
Story.
Oh dear, you've been infected. You've both been cursed with the filmmaker bug. That statement alone, you're done. I don't think there's a grape that can cure it. Just so you know, you guys are in.
Well, that's probably
inspiring.
Good. End it, right?
Or start the next year. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's wonderful. So okay, we'll use that as a cue. So as you can imagine, when we have more people on here, you're more than well. We'll use our best judgment. You obviously took up all of Monday. Thanks a lot. But as we have more people come on, if it feels right that you should be on stage, or feels right that it would be better if you could be some kind of active audience member. Make the call. I have complete power. I can boot you out at any moment, just so you know that. And if I can find the right.
I'd love to ask some of the other movie makers, because we go to movies a lot and
sure.
we love it. So this is a great opportunity just to ask other people what inspired them and like
that's what this is for.
Technical things. Yeah.
See, that's again, what we're doing our best, but that's the one thing, the magic that's going to be impossible to recreate per se. But after we click, so we're going to finish this, we're going to click off. But the fame that we're open 24/7 for the the entirety of the event. You click off, and then if you look over on your left, there are 2 breakout rooms.
I see.
You can jump on there, invite them over. Hey, let's meet over at breakout room 2, and it's very similar to theirs, but it's different. Where the big jump in technology we have here is that we are now doing live video. Before it was just like an avatar or an icon, and we could talk. You could hear there's audio, but we wouldn't get we wouldn't necessarily have the robust video interchange. So it'll be fun when there's more people. It'll be cool. You know what? I want to strike that. I could be talking out of the side of my mouth. I have to recollect because there was a video aspect. Now I can't remember if it was throughout though. Anyway, so take what I said with a grain of salt, and somehow my hot air.
If there is, it's a bonus.
Right on. So, well, thank you very much for coming on. I hope to see you throughout the rest of the week. Please take advantage. 2 things: take advantage of all the films that you have access to for the rest of the week, and please network. You're brand new, so be a big giant fat sponge and get as much information. You never know what could be a gold nugget. Some of it may be a red herring here and there, but literally you may find that one little thing, a person, an idea, a camera, some equipment that makes all the difference in the world. Like, oh, I never thought about that in looking for a location or whatever. So you're in a good space to get all kinds of information. You're not going to be jaded like the other rest of us. But again, I hate to say you've been bitten by the bug, and to reiterate, there's no grape that's going to help either of you. You're done. You European drivers, you.
Thank you for your time too, and all your advice. We really appreciate it.
Okay, and well, I'm sure we'll talk. You know what? You're just driving still home, right?
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna end the. Thank you. We're gonna end the conversation here. But let's say we jump in the. We'll go to breakout room 1 and let's just have a chat and play there.
Okay.
What do you think?
Sounds great.
All right. We'll see you in a bit. Thank you everybody for watching and joining us. This is Monday's version of 2022 NovaFest Q&A. We will have it throughout the week. Hope you can join us. And come join us. Ask some questions from some cool artists, cool people. Thank you very much.
Ciao.